You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips. Joining me in this adventure into geekdom, which sometimes is good, sometimes it sucks, is TFG1 Mike.
Hello.
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 So hopefully,
We're here.
yeah. So hopefully this energy Coke does its job and gives me the energy I need.
Yes.
It seems to be starting to hit me pretty well because the fog is gone and the brain is racing, and yeah, so that'll
All
be
synapses are firing on all cylinders. There you go.
At least for the next 45 minutes.
Let's
After that,
hope.
there's no guarantee that I'll be functional. So let's move on.
You won't still function.
I still function. So anyways, I'm going to start off right from the top of the show and kind of mention, some of you may have seen the car accident post that I made.
Mm-hmm.
So, long story short, in Colorado, we have this expressway called I-25. For those not familiar with it, if you're familiar with the one that goes from Michigan to Florida, the I-75, it's very similar in the sense, except Colorado's been working on the same stretch of road for about 4 years.
It's kind of like I-65 in Indiana. It'll not be stopped worked on.
Well, my thing is we've been here a little over a year and a half. We're closing in on 2 years, in another 6 months or so. And the thing is it boggles my mind how long it is taking them to do this small stretch of land. The section that's between where I live, which is in Windsor, and where I work, which is Loveland, they're trying to expand the expressway from 2 lanes to 4.
Okay.
So let that sink in for a second, or at least 3. Either way, they're trying to expand it. The problem is that they've had such a massive influx of people, like growth of movement to Colorado, that they can't keep up. But the problem with it is you can go out there, you never see them working on it. And say what you will about Michigan. Michigan has crappy roads, yes. And yes, they also have multiple construction projects going on at the exact same time. They'll work on one, they'll move over to the next one, they'll move over to the next one, and they eventually come back. But I've watched them tear down entire 6-lane bridges.
Jeez.
In Michigan, to completely gut it, rebuild it, with modern architecture, because they were old, and completely gut it, and it comes back, it's nice, it's new. They'll have it done in a summer because they don't have winter like Colorado, where things melt in Colorado within the afternoon because it'll jump from 30 to 60 or something, or you'll get the direct sunlight and it'll still melt under the 30 degrees. Michigan, it doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
Once you get that snow, it's like, Massachusetts, they get a lot more snow.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're further north too, and then they're coastal for the most part, but Michigan has until about October to finish whatever they're doing, or else it has to sit until the spring. So I feel like Michigan has it a little bit better in that sense, that they can actually fix their highways and build them in a sufficient amount of time. I don't know what Colorado's issue is, but jumping back to the point at hand, because the expressway is so compacted, people, you're supposed to go 55 miles per hour on it in this stretch. And it's a safety thing, and I get it. Most of the time you have to go about 45, maybe 50. So we were driving, we were heading to the church on a Thursday evening. The goal was the boys had a program that's called Adventures. It's like Scouts, but it's it's the church equivalent of it. And
it's more wholesome, apparently.
Well, it's not even that. They still earn badges. They do all that stuff too, but it's more there's different levels of it, just like Boy Scouts, except for the fact that it's called Adventures and it's for male and female. It's not a
it's not a boy-only club. Okay,
it's not a boy-only club or girl-only club. It's just that's how it is. And so, And then their version of the Scouts, not the like Cub Scouts, when they go to like the Boy Scouts level, it's called Pathfinders. But so that being said, the boys were going, I was dropping them off, and I was going to clean the church for Mary because she just had gallbladder surgery 2 days before.
Right.
And she wasn't medicated or anything. She was fine. She was off the meds like the day before, so she wasn't even taking the stuff anymore. She was feeling pretty good.
Okay.
So we're driving on 25, and we're heading to the exit for the church. And we hit the section where they're doing all the construction. And we've since figured out that the passing lane is a dangerous lane. Because if you stay in the lane where everybody merges from getting on the expressway or getting off, that's actually the safest spot because people slow down at a sufficient amount, whereas the other side, they're blowing past you.
Right.
So anyways, I got over because I wanted to pass a semi-truck, and it was going slow. I don't even think it was going the speed limit. I was just trying to get in front of it. And so I was driving the van with the kids. 5 cars behind me, Mary got behind another set of trucks that were behind me. They were just regular diesel full-size trucks. And traffic way ahead of me just started abruptly stopping from 50 miles per hour to 0. So it's like, like just everybody stomping on their brakes. And I was probably within half a foot of hitting the car in front of me when I finally stopped. So the boys were good, I was good. The vehicle behind me stopped in sufficient time. The one behind that stopped in sufficient time. And then the other one must not have been paying attention because they stopped in sufficient time, but Mary wasn't able to stop in sufficient time, so she rear-ended the truck.
Oh, no.
So but she swerved in just the right fashion that it didn't crunch the whole front of the car and make her hurt herself.
Right.
So it tore up the entire front driver quarter panel and grill and part of the hood and just completely tore the metal off. Crunched everything up pretty good. She couldn't get her door open. All the airbags deployed. So she was able to eventually get over and get off the expressway. So, yeah, she got a nice little airbag deployment burn on her wrist, and I kept going. Like, I heard the crash happen, and I saw pieces of car fly in the air. The boys were like, I see blue in the air. I think that was Mommy. And I was like, I had a feeling it was her. I didn't know it was her, but I had a feeling. I couldn't see the vehicle anymore behind me, but I heard, and I knew she was 5 cars behind me. And I had these big trucks that were basically overshadowing the Equinox anyway. And so I tried calling her. I'm getting voicemail because she called 911, and when it does that, it automatically kills all other calls to the phone, so it doesn't receive any.
Right.
So when she finished that call, she called me back, and she's like, "Yeah, the vehicle's trashed." She's like, "All the airbags deployed. I'm okay." She's like, "Don't come back." She said, "Because there's nothing you can do for me right here." And so I took the boys, and then I started cleaning, and they were a little traumatized, to begin with. So I called one of Mary's friends who happened to be just near there and picked her up and took her to their house so that after the boys were done with their thing, I picked her up. And she was a wreck. Like, she was just, she's got like and understandably so, a PTSD with the expressway right now. Because of the massive damage that happened. And had it hit probably front on with the vehicle she was driving, she probably would have been injured in the hospital or dead. If we had a little car like what we used to have, she would have been dead because those things have no. You hit a truck. So thankfully she was in that. And so anyways, I get a call from the insurance company Friday, and they said, "Well, it's totaled." And they're like, "As you probably thought," and they're like, "You're getting $10,000 for this car." Which I was like, "Oh, cool," because Barry and I paid $11,000 used from. We bought it off somebody. We bought it off somebody in 2015, so we've had it for 5 years. So realistically, with tires and with a few other small nickels and dimes items of wear and tear, we only spent $2,500 honestly on it then. at this point.
Oh, wow.
I mean, basically,
cool.
when you consider the $10,000 I'm getting back.
Right.
So that was nice. And so I'd when we were recording this last week and we were messing around with stuff, I was looking at pictures of trucks. And you were like, okay, stop looking at the trucks, let's record, because I was going at it for about an hour.
Yeah.
Annoying the crap out of you.
He loves him some trucks, folks.
Yeah, so I was trying to find an old S10 truck like what I used to have, and that's just not in the realm of possibility. Plus, they're only extended cab. They don't have crew cab, which have, she wanted a bench seat in the back. That's what it boiled down to. She didn't want the fold out because they don't put those in anything anymore because they're not honestly safe, even though they're sized for the child.
Yep.
So anyways, she was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that one. 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 So, so it kept boiling down. We did see one that was a possibility, and it was like a 98 or something, but it was a 8-cylinder, and we were like, oh, that's a gas eater. So we were like, that's a no. So back to the drawing board. Back to Friday. She's in Michigan because I dropped them off at the airport on Thursday, and they went to visit family in Michigan while I'm in production. And so I finished production about 11 o'clock, got home about noon. Mm-hmm. She calls me, and we're looking at cars.com at vehicles. We're debating a Trax or an Equinox used, and I load up because I had various filters on my search parameters, and lo and behold, a 2007 Chevy Colorado showed up.
Yeah.
And I was looking at those too, because I like the body style of the old ones.
Right.
And they're not insanely huge. I mean, they're still big by comparison to the S trucks, but they're not as big as the modern Colorado either. And so I was a little bit more okay with it. They're not as good of a motor as like the S10 trucks or the new Colorado, but it's neither here nor there. So anyways, the thing we were looking for was like 4x4, 4-wheel drive. It needed to be a crew cab. So they had stock photos. It had just hit the lot, or it hadn't hit the lot. It just was traded in, and they had it entered in the system. And so I called the salesman, and I'm like, hey, I need to see some pictures, but I'm interested in this. And it said it was crew cab. It said it had 4-wheel drive, and it was a Colorado. And it had 52,000 miles, which is unheard of for that year, because anything that was even around that year was the same price, and it had like over 100,000 miles.
Right.
Granted, they weren't even crew cab. So what had happened is these people traded it in. They were moving to a retirement home. And so it was garage kept. So it reminded me in a lot of ways of when my grandpa had the truck that I bought off of him years ago. Because it had literally all the bells and whistles. Like, it was decked to the nines, like, on everything. And so that's how this truck is. So he sent me pictures of it. It's that deep red color.
Right.
Which is funny because when I saw these trucks come out originally, when I worked at the dealership, I was like, I need one of those red trucks. So, call it what you will, divine providence or karma or whatever. It lined itself up. So it has the roll bar step side to the side of the truck. It has crew cab. It has 4-wheel drive. It has Z71. It's got leather seats. It's got power everything. It's got fog lights. It's got it has a topper on it. And
cool.
Which the topper thing, it's hilarious because I don't like the looks of a topper on a truck. Mm-hmm. But it's convenient too if you want to just carry, like, you want to haul stuff, but you don't necessarily need it so that it overflows over the side. Like, it's just, but they carpeted the inside of the truck, the liner part of it. Like
then the boys can just camp.
Well, and that's what's funny about it is we're like, well, we could take this thing camping and just throw everything in the back, and then if it's, if need be, we could rough it by sitting in the back of the truck. But it's also a deterrent, so if you're carrying something that's possibly going to scratch the bed, you won't scratch the bed.
Right.
So I was looking at it, and I'm like, so, okay, that works, And if I don't like the topper, I can always get a tonneau cover, which is, the vinyl thing that they put over the top.
Right.
And then I would do, like, a spray-in bed liner, which is like a hard plastic that reinforces the metal and prevents it from rusting. Which I may do that myself just so that I can save some money and take out the fabric part, but... so anyways, yeah, and it's got towing package and everything else. So it's fully decked out, which I was quite surprised, but it in a lot of ways reminded me of my grandpa's truck in that scenario. So I told the guy, I'm like, I'll take it.
There you go.
After a lot of debating with Mary over the text, and she's like, well, test drive it, blah, blah, blah. And so I drove it around town. I actually lost, like, because they're like, because of COVID, we can't actually ride with you anymore. They're like, so we have to get all this, your insurance information. We have to get your license stuff. We got to, and so I'm like, okay, I'm like, that's fine. So he's like, you just take this route and you go around here and this thing and the other thing. And I got lost and I made my way back. I had Batman giving me orders how to get back, but, on the Waze app. But, yeah, so I mean, it drove fine. There was some stupid kid playing on his phone. In the middle of an intersection, and I tried out the brakes. They work really well. I say try out as in this guy was being an idiot in front of me.
Right.
So I know the brakes work. I tried out the four-wheel drive. Like, everything works great. So they got to send it through reconditioning. They got to clean it, and then I'll have to pay the balance on Friday because they're like, how are you going to pay for it? And I'm like, cash. They're like, what's the holdup? And I says, insurance. I says, because in the state of Colorado, if you have a total loss, they take your, because the insurance company, I think they give it to the state or they do something. I don't know how they do it, but the state gets the title.
Okay.
And so they make it so that, the insurance company will give you 2/3 of the money, and then the other third gets released when you send the title to the state. And then they tell the insurance company, and then they release the rest of the funds. And so I told them, I'm like, well, I won't get all the funds until next week. So I just got to bring them a check on Friday, and boom, I got a truck. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay, so 2 things.
Yes.
Number 1. Yes, do the spray bed liner thing, because the last thing you need is cosmic rust in your truck. Second thing, my lovely wife Karen had an idea for you. Now, I know your lovely wife Mary ends up listening to this show every now and then. Hopefully she won't listen to your 375th episode, because...
She doesn't listen.
Huh?
She never listens to it.
Anyway. So Karen said... if he's getting a new truck because, how horrific it was that she got in an accident and the other car got totaled, all he really needs to do is add the $50 or $350 into the price of the truck, the new truck, and he could get his Megatrons.
Har, har, har. Easier said than done, dude.
I'm like, that's genius.
It is, except she watches money like a hawk.
I know. I told her that.
Yeah, it would never fly.
I understand. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying too. It would never fly.
I know.
She'd be like, where'd that money come from? Where's it going? It did not go towards the truck.
Yes, it did. It went towards the truck decorations. These 2 new toys.
She used to call me out when I used to work at the car dealership. And she would be like, so what'd you get at? And then she named the gas station I'd stop at, and she's like, and I was like, how do you? And she's like, I was watching the bank statements. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, of course you were. So, yeah, I mean, if it were, I wish the Megatron was like half the price.
I know.
Because I could make that happen. More so, I need to complete the Optimus versus Megatron scene, because I have one of the two. I need the other one. Speaking of Beast Wars,
yes, Beast Wars.
yes, since Kingdom is coming, haha, I've seen the Megatron figure for Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It still is 1,000 times better than the original Hasbro figure, and it's got color. It's bigger, and it's like the robot mode actually looks like Megatron, whereas the robot mode on the original '95 version did not.
Oh wow!
It was so crappy of a coloration. Like they did put very little effort into it until they re-released it in 2010, and then they were like, "Hey, look, we did it right this time." And they kind of had some slight remolds to it, but no, this one's pretty accurate. And I if I get stuck with just getting this $52 one, I'm fine. I would love more so to get the masterpiece and just pass on this one altogether. Just because, honestly, like, I mean, if I have a choice, I mean, I would get both. But if I had the money, the masterpiece would be where I'd dump it.
Well, yeah, because masterpiece is supposed to be the highest tier of
Well, and it's got die casting.
Transformers. Exactly.
So
That's
why wouldn't
because,
you want die cast construction? It won't
exactly.
break.
It's a lost art, though.
It is a lost art. It won't break. That's why, like, the original Beast Wars Megatron toys, like, I broke them multiple times because the plastic was so chintzy on stuff. Like, especially the Transmetal Megatron. That was the one that disappointed me the most. I know this is not the Transformers podcast, but we can go anywhere. It is Altered Geek. This is Altered Geek. We can talk about whatever. But the master or the Transmetal Megatron that came out, his arm, and because it would fold in on the inside of its back when he went to beast mode, but when he went into robot, you would fold it out, and it was only holding on by like a little narrow hinge that was almost like the stuff they use in Hot Wheel cars for the wheels. And the plastic itself would always break off because I had two of them, and they both broke in the exact same place. And the arm fell off, so I had to glue one of them back on so you just permanently couldn't transform. And the head sculpt was kind of crappy, whereas like I feel like they got it all right when they did the Dragon Megatron. They finally got most of it there. But I honestly just sold everything because half the stuff just didn't look show accurate. The stuff we're getting now is so show accurate in some regards. Like, yes, the Kingdom Megatron has some of those chintzy joints like they put on the Armada toys. Right. I recognize it. I know what they're doing. It is a little bit more versatile and more it's more stable than some of the joints that they were putting on things for a while, where it would kind of just flop over on its own. So I get it, but it does look cheap because you know that what kind of hinge it is. But yeah, so I mean, I'm at least going to get that Megatron. I thought about getting the Primal because he's only like 30. And there's not that much difference between that one and the Masterpiece, but there's a slight difference, and I was like, I could get that one too, and then if I ever get the Masterpiece Megatron, then I've got both sets. I don't know. And then I was thinking about some of the other Beast figures like Cheetor and Rat Trap, but I'm like, those kind of suck by comparison to the 10th anniversary, or the Thrilling 30 versions. Whereas those I felt were a better... I mean, these are still nicer than the original toys that came out in the 90s, but they're not that great by comparison. And the Black Arachnia, either way you look at it, still an upgrade from the 90s version. Yeah. It was basically a repaint of Tarantulas. But so this all spawned me into thinking, I work in audio production for audio dramas, and I was thinking, I have pretty much all the files for Darkglass. So I pulled all the files off of my external drive earlier, and I'm starting to look through them. There's a surprise. I think there's a character that's not... I don't have the files for it, but I don't know if it's... I don't know if we ever got him or if I got him in an email. Because for instance, I I was going to be I'm Megatron in it, which obviously I didn't record all my lines though for it because I think they sucked, so I deleted them all. Like they were, I didn't have the Yeti at the time.
Right.
I had one of those desk microphones, or I was using my USB headset. I think that's what it was, and they just sounded like crap. So I was like, I'm just going to dump these and start over. Because I didn't have the inflections right in some of it. Like it sounded crap. So I'm going to re-record those for it. But I do have everybody else's lines, I think, except for Quick Strike's. And I think John Bailey was supposed to do Quick Strike, and he did Primal for it too. Yeah, so I think that was it. Oh wow, I found another character I didn't have lines for. I saved it. I forwarded all the emails to my Hotmail account before I wiped out the domain that was associated with it when we did it originally. Right. So I have some of it, so I'm scouring through that even like right now. But so the plan is I'm going to use as much as possible the Beast Wars music and sound effects that I can find. And then I'll probably supplement some of it from G1 if needed, but to kind of put together the audio production and create this cohesive 22-minute episode.
Very cool, very cool.
So I'm working on it for two reasons. One, I'm tired of it sitting around not getting done. You know, it's only like 10 years late. I mean, you know, we've come to the realization the video portion is never going to happen.
Right, but the audio drama can be still a thing, though.
Yeah, the audio drama can still be a thing. There was a podcast called Optimus Prime Cast or something that was like, I don't know, it was like 4 years ago. They did their own rendition of Darkglass from some comic or some version of the script that was out. And right. What's funny about it is I emailed them, because it was June of 2016, because I discovered their show, and I listened to part of it because somebody was like, hey, have you seen this yet? And I was like, no, and so I checked them out, and they recorded their own Darkglass episode, and it was okay, and they had some guys doing the voices, and a lot of it was kind of shoddy, and they did what they could with it. They referenced our show.
Oh, boy.
At one point, like The Beast Unleashed, and I said...
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, yeah, we were the guys who... Because they said there was another Beast Wars podcast out there, Beast Unleashed or something, and I replied and I said, yeah, we were the guys who did that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I answered something about the scripts. I says, as far as I know, as far as the script is concerned, there were two fan versions. One made in '99 is a CGI script. The other one that they came upon is an old one by Brenton, which I can't remember who that is at this point because it's so old. I have all this stuff somewhere. I just have to dig it out. And then I was very coy on the other version, the official version. But I said we wrote.
Nobody's supposed to know that we have that.
Have what?
That thing that we got 5 years ago.
It was longer than 5 years ago.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I know. It's protected. So
it better.
Oh, I still have it.
I know you still. I'm not saying you don't still.
Yes. Anyways, so I told them, I says that for this project we had wrote our own version of the Darkglass episode, mixing, the CGI 99 one with our own items, pulling from the Beast Wars lore to complete some storyline issues that arose. There were like a couple other things, like Megatron experimenting with the Transmetal driver, and because he discovered it at some point, or to try and play around with it anyway. So yeah, there were multiple things that kind of come into play into that, and so there's still some hidden things that nobody really knows about that we kind of incorporated as some fan service. But it was never going to get done as a CGI thing just because, yeah. So anyways, the Genome Studios version, which was the CGI one, and the Brenton ones are close in some areas, but not in others. So our final production version does somewhat exist, but we kept the script under lock and key, which, again, I downloaded everything from we used box.com or something at the time, which it's basically like Dropbox, but it's different. It's like Box. It was like the Box or something back then. Anyways, I downloaded all of it before it went bye-bye, and I have the entire archive.
The box got dropped.
Yeah. Wah, wah. So anyways, I'm going to play around with this, and this is like a personal goal of mine is to get this episode done. Maybe by the end of the year, I'm hoping. I've dumped all the files into Audition, and I'm going to start assembling the dialogue portion and then spacing it out as I figure out what's supposed to go in there according to the script. I'll get a little taste of how it actually is for our director of the other program that I work for.
There you go.
Because he's like, yeah, some of it I can piece together fairly well, and some of it, so
not so much.
Yeah. So, I was just happy that I still had some of it. So the goal is I'm gonna get back in character, record Megatron, and do some of that stuff. Be a nice little demo service anyway. With Megatron and so it's actually going to get started at this point.
Cool.
Oh, and Kevin plays Depth Charge.
Yes, he does.
Did pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
I would know. I cast him.
I know.
I might have to recast some other people because they're paid actors now, but about half the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we've got Edward Bosco, we've got John Bailey, we've got Daniel Ross, all three of those guys. Natalie Van Sistine, who played Black Arachnia, she's a paid voice actor now.
Jeez.
Yeah, wow. So a lot of the people that were involved in this are actually actors now, which...
In the business, yes.
In the business, which is hilarious now that it's like, yeah, we waited so long that...
You had to actually go out and get paid to do it.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, because everybody should be getting their own wages.
Yeah. I want to do voiceover stuff forever, man. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of what's been on my plate, aside from being swamped with production stuff, and almost getting locked out of my house the other night. I don't know if I should tell that story or not.
Sure, why not? Your wife's not listening, or is she?
No, she's not, but she knows the story. So yeah, I was coming home from that dealership, and it's an hour and like 15 minutes away.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to go check the mail on the way home, because they have those boxes. They don't put them in front of your house out here, unless you have an old house, and then that's the only way it happens. But so I went to go do that. I went to go get my keys out of my pocket to unlock it, and I'm like, where are my keys? I'm like, I cannot find my keys. So I went and started panicking. I called the dealership. I'm like, hey, if you see keys on a key ring, I'm like, it's got my work stuff on it. It's got my house key. It's got like, I says, and I'm at home. Can't get in my house. And so the guy's like, all right, I'll go check around in the vehicle and everything else. And so I pull up to the house, cause I'm like, well, there's no point in trying to go to the mailbox. I don't have the key. So I go up to the house, and then I see my Amazon package for the remote garage door opener had arrived, which does me no good if it's not hooked up.
Right.
Because I had the interior door to my garage, like, to my house unlocked, but I had no way to get in the garage.
Right.
Because it has one of the same locks on the back door for it as it does for the house on that portion, and then I had no garage door opener. And I hadn't hooked up the remote garage door opener Wi-Fi adaptation thing because it hadn't come in the mail yet. So I'm standing on my front porch with this box and all my stuff, and I'm like, I need to get in the house. I'm going to be sleeping outside for the next week, like not thinking, I could call a locksmith, have him break me in my own house. But so I'm sitting there panicking, and then I had a moment of calm, and I'm like, wallet. And I'm like, why am I thinking about my wallet? And then I remembered, I have a spare key in there, because that's what I do.
Yep.
So I went out, I pulled the spare key, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can get in my house at least. I just don't know what happened to the rest of the keys. And so I get in the house, I turn on the lights, I look over on one of the ledges, and I left my keys there when I stopped home for lunch. So my keys were sitting on the counter, and I'm like, well, that's good at least. So I called the dealership back, and I'm like, hey, by the way, I'm a moron, and I left him here, and I locked myself out of my own house earlier, but thankfully I had a spare key in my wallet. And he just laughed, and he's like, all right, have a good night. And so like I quickly like clipped those to my belt, and then I'm like, all right. So I went out in the garage and I hooked up the wireless converter for my garage door to convert it to a smart garage, and I hooked up the app and I tried it out, and I'm like, oh, okay, that works. So now at least if I get locked out of my house, I can get in my house through my my garage.
There you go.
So yeah, I learned. Always have a spare.
Oh yeah.
And then yesterday, it was last night. I think it was after we were going to record.
Last night was a cluster flunk.
Yeah. Well, I was going to record, and then I'm like, man, my eyes and my head are hurting so bad in my office, and I could not figure out why. And the funny thing is the first month and a half I'm at a house, this happens every time, and I forget. Because they have their own crappy bulbs all over the house.
Right.
And I don't use them. So
right.
I went and I stood on my desk. I looked up there and I'm like, because it had that soft white look, but it's...
Right.
I went to go unscrew it and I'm like, ow, these are scalding hot. And so I'm like, well, I got to get this down. And so at this point, because I noticed how hot it was, the glass was like so hot, like it made the towel smell afterward.
Jesus,
like
dude.
It was burning it. And I'm like, I gotta have the light on to see what I'm doing though. So I grabbed this towel and I'm holding the glass, and then I'm trying to unscrew it with the other piece of the towel to not drop it all. And so I got the glass off, and then it's so hot in there, it like burned part of the glass, which I washed, and it was fine, and it cleared it off. But the bulbs in there, they had 3 75-watt bulbs in there, and the sockets are for 60 watt.
Oh, Jesus. You can't do that.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, they were going for high lumens in it, which doesn't mean anything. It depends on color temperature.
Yep.
Because I've learned that too, from media stuff. Like, you can have more lumens, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it was soft white and it was still darker in my office. So I got rid of the soft white. I threw the bulbs out. I was like, yeah, I'm not using those. I had some LED left over from the last house. And they're 60 watt bulbs, but the equivalent wattage is the 60 watt. It's actually 9 watt. Because they're LED, they don't heat up. So I replaced all of them, and I get the daytime bulbs because they're easier on your eyes. They're like 5,000 Kelvin or whatever for the color temperature. So it's more calming on your eyes. It's better for office. It's better for all that. So I swapped it out and put all 3 of them in there, put the thing in. It's actually brighter in here with those 3 bulbs. The fixture's not hotter than... I don't feel like my house is going to burn down from having my office light on. And my eye strain and headache went away immediately.
There you go. So let me ask you this. Did you have your office light on while you were locked out of your house?
No.
Before you changed Okay,
I
good.
had the stupid light on for an hour. And it was like as hot as something on my stove. I could have boiled an egg on it.
Oh my God.
It was so unbelievably hot. I was so mad that I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna have to go around the house now and check all the bulbs. I don't have any replacements right now, so there's no point in me checking it at this point because I'm not actually using the rest of the house but my office. But I went on Amazon yesterday before my Prime ran out, and I ordered 24 LED bulbs because I'm like, I'm going to be replacing a bunch of bulbs around this house at this point because I don't want to burn my house down. Because somebody's an idiot and can't read. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and I get the daytime ones because honestly, they're so much easier on your eyes because it feels like natural light.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, anyways, I did that. So, the joys of buying a house are you do have to put some money into it, but a lot of these modern tech upgrades are actually very beneficial to a house.
Yes, they are.
So,
Yes.
jumping, what were you going to say?
So Karen was looking at stuff on Amazon the other night. She comes across this smart ceiling light flush mount LED Wi-Fi compatible with Alexa, Google Home, dimmable low profile ambient light fixture for bedroom, living room, yada, 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 yada. And I'm like, ooh. So I'm looking through this thing, and it's just one light. And we have one light in our living room. Obviously, we're in an apartment. We would have to, ask the property management. But this light has multiple colors. This light has a purple setting. The whole living room, my office included, which will eventually be here in a couple of weeks, could be purple without us actually having to paint the apartment.
You and your purple.
That's right. What were you going to say before I interrupted you?
Well, I was going to switch gears to International Podcast Day, which we're a few days late. It was September 30th.
Yes.
Which honestly, the podcast day is such an awesome day because it's a day of celebration for all podcasters. No matter your skill capability, it's nice because they have a lot of free seminars that are going on that day, like 24 hours of it. They have a lot that are paid, or you need subscriptions or tickets or whatever for. But generally, a lot of the stuff's free, and then they also have the podcast awards on the same day. And I'm a little sad that the show that we produced didn't win, because it did make it to the top 10 though.
Which show?
Not GCRN shows, the one I work for.
Oh.
So I was a little, well, you got to enter it. It costs like $30 a show or something.
Obviously,
so I didn't want to put money into it knowing that we weren't going to make it to the top 10. I'm not saying that I don't like our product here on GCRN. I just don't think it's up to par with some of the ones that are running in that race. Mm-hmm. So that's what next year's for. We got to up our game.
That's right.
We got to up our game, man. So if we do that, then I will enter them in, and then hopefully they win. And if they don't, we're going to hunt them down and make them give us a trophy. So yeah, I mean, it's a cool day though. I like the fact that they spend the entire time focusing on the various aspects of podcasting and the educational aspect of it. And I am a member of the Podcasters Association, which allows me to get some behind the scenes things and enter our stuff into a voting thing later on. A lot of meet and greets with other podcasters. So it's a nice little networking tool, and it's to help in a lot of ways to standardize a lot of things for podcasters. So I wanted to be a part of that so that because I have multiple interests in that field. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense to join it. I mean, it does cost money, but I feel like that membership is worth dumping into.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. International Podcast Day. At first I was like, really? I mean, I'm very happy that we have a day. I'm very happy that people are starting to recognize podcasting as a quote-unquote legitimate audio medium. And I know there are video podcasts out there, but even though I have screen within screen or picture in picture, whatever you want to say on your phone, I'd rather just sit here and listen on Spotify and play a game or whatever instead of having to watch somebody. I am all about the audio podcast. I have never been about the video podcast, whether it's people I follow or whatever. I'm absolutely happy that they're doing their content, and that's great. I want an audio version because video is just way too much for me.
I have a couple of different thoughts on that, and that's, for instance, the video portion. A lot of the ones that do video, for instance, have some kind of a background in television.
Right.
And I say that because, like, Leo Laporte, twit.tv, is a huge, like, inspiration for some ideas of things. The Blaze does it. That's a place I used to work at one point. They've all got their different aspects and things that work and things that don't. And I like to some degree, because it's like watching a show. However, they can also be watched or listened to as a podcast. And I find myself, anyway, I don't... Like, Twit, I might watch because I want to see some of the visuals that go along with it, or I'm interested in their studio build or certain things like that. So there's multiple reasons I pay attention to the video portions of those. But I'm primarily someone who likes the audio portion just because I can listen to it on my phone when I clean the church. I can, listen to it on my computer while I'm doing regular work. I don't necessarily have to pay any attention to it whatsoever. And honestly, half the time, like, everybody's on Zoom anymore, so it's just completely boring. I'm in enough Zoom meetings. I don't really want to be on a Zoom meeting to watch a podcast. So in that instance, like, I just don't have any love for watching it. I'm not saying that they don't have a time and a place. Like, they do the voice acting video show.
Oh, VO Buzz Weekly.
VO Buzz Weekly, yeah. Now, them, it's different because you get to see the voice actor, you get to see some of the mannerisms, you get to see, some of the things they're kind of talking about, and it's kind of like a bunch of friends just sitting on a couch. So in that instance, like, I enjoy that aspect, but I think the video podcast thing, even for listening purposes, I think that it's a lot of the younger generation. They like to have YouTube playing in the background, and so they'll put it on a playlist and kind of have things going on that. And I've heard on multiple occasions from different sources that they enjoy watching or listening to it on YouTube, which I don't fully understand, watching it on YouTube so you can listen to it, because it uses like a partial video bandwidth. It's not even... now, if you use YouTube Music, it's different because they allow you, like, if you pay for it, you can listen to any video that's on YouTube without the visual.
Right.
Like, it takes away, you have the option to turn off the video part and just go with the poster image.
The audio.
Yeah, and then have the audio behind it. It becomes an audio thing instead of a video thing. Because I was doing that with a lot of my music playlists that I had built on YouTube, and I was able to play the audio without the video portion on my phone, so it wouldn't eat up a bunch of bandwidth. And so I get it from that perspective too, but if you're going to listen to a podcast, you might as well use something like Spotify or Google Podcasts that are automatically going to do it.
Yeah, because if I'm on YouTube, I'm
physically watching something.
Yeah, I'm physically watching a video, like Honest Trailers, The Boys. Okay, sure, whatever. Not sure whatever about Honest Trailers, but The Boys apparently is a new show that's getting a lot of attention or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm on YouTube to watch a video if I, you know what I mean? I'm not there to listen to things. That's what Spotify and other things are for. So, but yeah, most people know that either hear this show or any other show I've done in the last, almost a year. I kind of retired from podcasting. Kind of, sort of. Not really, but kind of. Because I had to put my computer in storage when we came out to Washington State from Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
The last almost year has killed me. Like, at the end of 2019, I was on such a high of getting things done, of recording and getting podcasts done and getting everything set up for the next new year and whatever else. And then we came out here, which it wasn't a mistake that we came out here. It was just a mistake that I left my computer back in Illinois at the time. So I haven't been really podcasting the way I would for those that are listening that may not be a regular listener that don't know. The way I've always approached podcasting is I work my ass off from January 1st to October 31st. On Halloween and on November 1st, I take the 2 months off for holidays because most everybody else, at the time when I started, I was single. Everybody else was either married or had kids or whatever. Obviously, I'm married now, and luckily Karen supports me in the podcasting thing and everything else. So, it's one of those things where it doesn't really matter now. But back then, I was doing the thing of, I'm going to work, 9-10 months out of the year on all this stuff, and then I'll take a 2-month break and cut back, and we'll do a couple of little episodes, holiday-type episodes here and there, but it wasn't much. Well, because of having the computer and storage and all of that, I kind of got into a podcast funk because I'm not doing what I would normally, like right now, it's October 4th, 2020. I would have had close to, between multiple shows and all of the shows that I do, I'd probably say I would have had close to about 400 podcasts logged for this year at this point.
Probably would.
Well, huh?
You probably would.
Yeah.
And I probably would have a few more done too if I didn't have to edit. It honestly, like, it's not a big deal to me to record them sometimes. Sometimes it takes me a few days longer. Sometimes I'll forget about a show for a week. And then I'll finally get around to it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I had a show that I did. I may even have one that happened like that for Future Imperfect. I don't remember. I might still have not edited one yet. I'm not entirely sure though. I'll have to check. But
384.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, no. Yeah, har, har, har.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you punk. So anyways, yeah, I mean, it'll take me a few days sometimes to edit them. Did I do the ATTF one? Yeah, I think I did that one. That was last week. Anyways, yeah, I don't mind it sometimes, but I feel like a lot of the time I'm so backlogged with things that I kind of let them sit, and I'm like, I just want to play a game right now, or I just want to watch something, or or write in the RPG thing that I'm doing. But it's honestly like I would much rather do anything else but edit at this point. But I know that it needs to get done at some point to go on there. Mm-hmm. So I end up getting around to it. It's just I forget.
Yeah. So my thing is, because like I said on multiple times at this point, that my computer has been in storage since December of last year, of 2019, I haven't been doing my normal production. Obviously, all the editing has come to you. I've even had to ask other people that have had me, that I've had on the pull bag, to edit for me. And I hate that. When I asked John and Maggie Schaefer-Hames, when I said, hey, I'd love to have you on for the pull bag and talking about how you got into comics and how you got your podcast started and everything else. Oh, by the way, I'm on a phone. Is there any chance you could edit this? And at first, John, I'm sure he looked at his phone like, what the fuck is this guy thinking? Kind of thing. And sorry, you're getting an explicit tag. But it's one of those things where, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. I said, well, it doesn't have to actually be done until like next week. So if we record on whatever day we were going to record, I wouldn't need it until a week. Luckily, when we had the conversation and I explained the situation to him, he was really cool about it. But basically, I owe a lot of people favors when I get my computer back, which actually is the whole point of me even saying all of this, is that I generally don't tell my dad bad news, because bad news kind of follows me. So I really don't. I talk to him, but I don't talk to him because I don't feel like if I don't have anything good to report or good to say, then why waste his time, because he works so hard. And he called me one day because we had the fires out here in Portland, Oregon, and down in California, things like that. And just to check in and make sure we're all right. And we were, because up here in Vancouver, Washington, we just got all the smoke from all the other fires that were down south. And I pulled over in some aisle in the grocery store, and I just broke down and just told him everything. My dad is the best dad I've ever seen, because the man basically is helping me get everything set with the storage stuff, with getting our furniture, with getting the computer. So hopefully by Halloween, I will be back up and running. And I know this is unrealistic, and it probably won't happen because it's coming up on holiday season, even though this is 2020 and COVID-19 and all of that. But I've had 8 or 9 months off of not doing anything. I'm going to be podcasting my ass off for the next 3.5 to 4 months. Catching up, getting things done, getting shows finished, all of that.
Shirt.
Because I haven't been able to do it, and it's just driving me crazy.
That would be a fun shirt.
What?
PMAO.
Oh, podcasting my ass off?
Yes. I'm thinking about actually making that shirt at this point now, because I think it's funny.
So, you know what you do? You take you take TV's Mr. Neil's drawing of me, not the full size, full body one, the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Take Nightwing off my shirt and put the podcasting my ass off on the shirt and on my shirt in the image, and then boom, there you go. There's a t-shirt design.
Yep. Be a funny shirt.
GCRN stuff, folks.
Do it now.
Do it now. So yeah, I'm very excited. In my time off of not producing and everything else, I've actually gotten back to listening to podcasts, and I've made a whole bunch of new connections and a whole bunch of new friends from listening to their shows. And I'm going to name drop them all. So I've known about this show for a while, but Charles, Jeremy, Daryl, and their guests over on the Transformers podcast, I've known about Charles and them for years now, because I know him through Lady Rec, aka Amy. Obviously DJ and Matt from Simplistic Reviews. Like I mentioned earlier, John and Maggie, they do Married with Comics, and they also do the Rod Pod, which is them going through the IDW Phase 2 Transformers books. I just found this one recently. It's a mouthful, but it really isn't. The Comic Book Couples Counseling Podcast. Basically what these lovely people do, this is Brad and Lisa Gullickson. They take a comic book couple and they, quote unquote, marry it with a self-help book and see if they can apply it to their marriage. Like what they learn from the characters and from the lessons. And like the first 4 episodes are Scott Summers and Jean Grey. And they used Gary Chapman's 5 love languages. It's the most interesting comic book podcast I've heard.
It's certainly a different concept.
It's a very different concept and a very interesting concept. It's also very heavy. But they make it fun, and they are fun to listen to. I have listened to the first 7 of their episodes. Yes, I made it through almost the end of Saga Volume 3. So that was episode 7 for them. So I've been listening to them recently. What other Part-Time Nerds, Full-Time Dads, which is Mike Laidman and Chris Blonsky. That's fun. I've mentioned that to you several times. You should listen to that. That's a fun little parenting geek podcast. Music Talks with Terry Smith, which I was on his show. Basically, his premise is pick a song for each decade of your life and tell him why those songs mean so much to you. So that's kind of cool. DC Comics News Podcast. has got a bunch of people. I've been listening to several different episodes of Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You. He has a Kevin Conroy episode that you should listen to. He's also had the Superman, damn it, Brandon Routh, Tom Cavanaugh. He's had Tom Welling on a couple of times. He's got Justin Long on an episode. He had Grant Gustin on an episode. Really, really fun conversations and very, very interesting. So yeah, I've been listening and gathering, information from all of these podcasts. Superhero Cinephiles, which is my buddy Derek Ferguson and my new buddy Perry Constantine. They do superhero movie reviews. So very cool. So I've just been listening and seeing what other people are doing, and I haven't done that in when you and I jumped into production on GCRN and all the shows we've done over the years. I went full blast into production. I wasn't really listening to podcasts because I didn't have the time, because I was producing 20 or 30 shows a week. And now that I've had the last 9, 10, 11, almost a year, months, almost a year off from not doing anything, I'm like, oh, I need something to do. Oh, I remember I used to love listening to podcasts.
What are those things again?
They're audio things that are really, really fun to listen to fill with your ear holes, to fill your ear holes with.
Why would you fill your ear holes with audio?
So yeah, I mean, it's just been a fun thing to go back to, and with International Podcast Day, a few days, few weeks, however the hell long it's been, I don't even know anymore. I forget which episode it is, but and I've mentioned this show multiple times on the GCRN in the past, Earth2.net, the show. I forget which episode it is. I'm trying to find it here. Dang it. It was it was one of their episodes. It was episode 1100. It was them going through the Marvel Cinematic Universe, talking about each one of they were doing kind of a countdown thing with it, like where the films rank in a countdown kind of a thing. And I've been Earth2.net, the show, and Michael Sims and the content that he and his cohorts have created over there at Earth-2.net. It was one of the first podcasts besides This Week in Geek that I had listened to, and they showed me my love for long podcasts, because sometimes they would do 2, 3, 4, 5 hour shows. Now I know a lot of people don't like the long podcast, and that's fine.
How long is it?
Hold on. I know people don't like the long shows, and that's fine. Now, I haven't actually listened to it. I've listened to some of the Earth2.net content, but I haven't listened to it on a regular basis over the years recently. Episode 1100 is 5 hours and change. And I'm like, ooh, I had this whole Twitter thread. I'm like, ooh, episode 1100, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, yes, yes. And one of the hosts, Ian Wilson, is like, it's a long one, mate, because he's British. And I'm like, yeah, so don't you know who you're talking to? Because I will listen to a long podcast. I have nothing but time. Sadly, I can't do a real job anymore. So I have nothing but time. So I'm like, 5 hours, that's nothing. Not for me anyway. For other people, it probably is.
I don't listen to podcasts that long. That would drive me nuts. I barely listen to a 30-minute podcast, which is funny that I record longer than a 30-minute podcast.
Yes. Well, for me, it's like, okay, it's 5 hours. I can sit here and play games on my phone and listen or whatever, and then I can stop and go do something else, and I can come back. Again, it's on-demand content. I don't have to spend I can spend 2 hours and then stop it at a certain point and come back to it the next day. So it's very rare that, and I don't even think I listened to all 5 hours all at once this time either. I think I listened to like 3 or 4 and then finished it up the next day or something like that. I don't remember how I did it, but the point is when I first started listening to podcasts, and I found podcasters at the time back in 2007, 2008, before I started actually producing content, is that I found people that were doing the long form, multiple hour shows, and I really enjoyed that. It's not for everybody. Hello?
Hello. Welcome to Altered Geek.
Yeah, so I would say that energy drink works great. Because
No.
before we started, I was like, I'm thinking about blowing off the episode again tonight, and then I drank it. Within 5 minutes, I started getting energy, and now I'm like motor mouth.
Yep.
I'm also like jittery because there's stuff in it.
Lots of. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, besides the fact they put carbonated water, and then the second ingredient's high fructose corn syrup, which is nothing new, but they put guarana extract, vitamins B3 and B6, caffeine, a bunch of other crap. Yeah, it's probably not healthy for you at all, but I feel wired, so I'm going to accomplish a bunch tonight.
There you go.
Yeah, well, I've got a bunch of writing stuff I got to catch up on too, among other things. So, yeah, and so I had some other newsy type stuff.
Okay.
Let me see. Some of the stuff is a little bit older at this point, I think, but yeah, we covered some of the Hasbro stuff on the ATTF. Why no find articles? Oh yeah, did you see MGM is developing a RoboCop prequel series that focuses on a young Dick Jones?
No.
This is the thing that boggles my mind. Why are they all making prequel series to things for people nobody care about? Like, what are you going to add to the mythos? Like, I kind of get it, but, I mean, it's like making an Alfred show and then saying, oh, we're going to meet the Waynes when they're young before they die. It's like, oh, thanks, like, just, I don't know. I find a problem with it. Like, I just don't like when they go that route and they're trying to play this card of,
Well, we're going to do something original within the franchise, and when we do that, it's creating this new dynamic in the background.
and it's like, no, nobody cares. Like, just, and I guess, like, I kind of sound like a dick there too, because there was somebody that posted something about, like, yeah, just because you put nobody cares doesn't mean that nobody cares. It just means you don't care. And it's like, well, yeah, that's pretty much true. But we'll see how long it lasts once it hits television.
I think there is, now this may be just a short miniseries, a comic miniseries, or a long form trade paperback kind of thing or something. I think there is something to the story of Thomas and Martha before, like...
I know, but they're not really covering that. They're covering, it's Alfred.
I know. I understand that. I get that. I'm saying, though, the whole thing about Thomas and Martha and doing a prequel, and you saying, oh, but they die at the end. Well, that's kind of the point, because, I don't know, lately I've kind of wanted to see a Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne, like, prequel thing. I honestly, dude, the prequel sequel thing at this point, with, like, Dumb and Dumber 2 should have been a comic book, not a movie.
Or a direct to DVD.
you whatever.
Yeah.
Did you see that Tim Allen and Richard Karn are reuniting?
Yes.
In Assembly Required.
This is like, the fact that, well, one, they're doing reality TV together, but two, like, those two are like an interesting dynamic anyway. I will pretty much watch anything with Tim Allen in it. So for me, that's like game on, like, cause I watch like, the Property Brothers, I watch Shark Tank, I watch some shows like that. I like some competition stuff too, but no, to see them do something where they're basically inventing a better mousetrap for things, doing innovation of just whatever the task is. One, it's a learning tool. Two, you get to have Tim Allen and Richard Karn telling you, yeah, that's a great idea. No, that sucks. So I mean, it's really cool. I'm excited for it. I think it's funny too that in their promo image they had the home improvement car with them that he spent the series fixing up. But no, I'm very excited for that series. I will watch it for sure.
Yeah, there's no date yet, but it's expected to premiere on History Channel in 2021 at some point.
Which again, game on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I will definitely watch it. This article came out about a week ago, and it says it was on The Verge, and honestly, I think it's true. It says Disney's remakes aren't good because they don't need to be. Oddities that still manage to turn out money. It says blockbuster movies don't get much stranger than the Disney live-action remake. It says there's been at least one new film every year, culminating in 2019 with the staggering 4 live-action remakes of animated classics. Yeah. So you can watch just about all of them now, thanks to Disney Plus. But they're really weird because they adapt parts of those movies, and they basically reuse the same script from the original writers and just rehash it as a live action thing because they own it. Why not? It's like printing money. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's movies that I think that they should never touch, and they do it anyway. But it kind of. I get it from a certain perspective that they have the technology to do it now, but on the other hand of it, like The Lion King, for instance, yeah, it looks nice, but it didn't need to happen. None of them really needed to happen. Like they kind of fizzled out. Like you hear about them when they're fresh and they're coming out. You see the preview stuff, and then after that, they just disappear into the wind. So I mean, like, I don't know. I've watched some of the remakes, so I can legitimately talk crap about them. So I've given them all a shot. I've watched them. I don't particularly care for the live action model with a lot of their films when they switch them from animated to live action. Like, I feel like it ruins the magic of it. I'm not saying it ruins my childhood because it's totally different. Like they're giving this as some new kid's childhood. I don't see the necessity in it of rehashing something verbatim of what came out before, just in a different visual format. Like, it's one thing if they were making a sequel to, like, we're going to make The Lion King 4, and it's like, okay, well, are you animating it? Yes. Okay, well, fine. You're making a Lion King 4. You're not using the same script you used 30 years ago and rehashing it as a new movie. Like, I don't know.
The Milan thing, I can't speak on them. I don't watch them. I will not watch any of the live action remakes. I have no interest in them.
I stopped after Aladdin.
Do what?
I stopped after Aladdin. I did enjoy that because Will Smith, he's I guess to begin with, he was apprehensive of taking on the role of the genie because he didn't want to step on the legacy that Robin Williams created. Yep. And I had so much respect for him just for saying that.
Right.
Because he was like, man, how do you top Robin Williams? He's like, you can't. So they told him, just, do your own thing with it. And so he kind of tapped some of that wildness from like Fresh Prince and some of Robin Williams and kind of had this nice amalgamation that he had going on. And honestly, like, I enjoyed it because Will Smith was in it. Everybody else was pretty much forgettable. But Will Smith as the genie was probably the strongest part. Their guy that they had play Jafar was the weakest possible actor they could have gotten. Like they should have put like Jeremy Irons or somebody in there that had like that menacing gravitas that he could bring to the live action role. The guy that got on it was such a dork. Like he was a weenie in the show. Like he was not even. He kind of sounded a little Weasley as Jafar, and it didn't. It sounded stupid. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like when you've got the animated version in its perfection and you're trying to emulate it in live action, and it's just gonna fall short because you're not gonna hit the same notes. I mean that's why the Lion King they had to go back to James Earl Jones for Mufasa. Because how are you going to top that? I mean, it's still a voice actor.
Yep. So the other day, longtime podcaster person that I used to listen to a long time ago, Stephen Mullen, he posted a meme on Facebook of Thanos with the Infinity Stones. And it says, "No one can stop me when I have the Infinity Stone," and then it trails off. And the bottom part of the meme is Little John from the animated Disney Robin Hood kissing Prince John's hand and pulling the rings off his fingers. And then at the end, he's got the rings in his mouth with Sir Hiss. So I'm like, oh, I haven't seen Disney's Robin Hood in a long time. I really love that animated movie. That movie is so friggin' good. And I completely forgot that the same guy that voices Prince John at the end of the film also voices King Richard, who comes back from the Crusades. And I'm like, oh, wow, I completely forgot about this whole thing. But yeah, I was laughing my ass off watching that movie the other day. Another thing that happened, and very excited for this, at least I am. Cobra Kai Season 3 date announced. January 8th, 2021 is when Season 3 will premiere on Netflix for Cobra Kai. At the end of the video, it says Season 4 now in training. So they are full steam ahead on Cobra Kai. Very excited for that. Did you see the fact that Rick Moranis got punched in New York City by a passerby? I'm like, you do not hit Rick Moranis. What the hell? This is from Deadline.
Yeah, I saw something about that. I didn't actually read the article, though. I saw somebody hit Rick Moranis, and I wasn't sure if it was with a car or a fist, but the internet was in such outrage. They're like, man, you don't mess with Rick Moranis. I'm going to whoop yo. Like, come after him.
So the article from Deadline says, this is the updated version. Actor Rick Moranis was punched in the face by a random passerby on a New York City's Upper West Side, and police said the assailant remained at large Friday. This article was written October 2nd of this year. A rep for the 67-year-old comedy star said in a statement provided to Deadline that Moranis is fine, but grateful for everyone's thoughts and well wishes. Moranis was taking an early morning walk Thursday near his home when he was struck on Central Park West near West 70th Street. The NYPD said the assailant used a closed fist to punch Moranis. The video shows the attacker take a sudden step toward Moranis and delivering the punch before resuming, basically walking away kind of thing. You don't hit Rick Moranis. You don't hit, like, really? Seriously?
That's not funny. That's not.
Yeah, that's not funny at all.
Yeah.
How dare you hit Rick Moranis? I'll send Captain Clown after you.
Mm-hmm.
And I will, too.
Yeah, I don't know. Like people are just losing their mind anymore. I mean, people are screaming things like, I have, and I'm going to keep this as anonymous as possible, but I happen to know somebody who was talking to somebody about things of COVID and government and other things, and I'm not going to say what or how, or I'm not going to go too much into it, but their family and their family and the venom coming from one side, even though the other side is completely understanding of both sides of the spectrum and is just voicing their opinion, but not disregarding the other person's thoughts and opinion, was basically like yelled at for having an opinion that was different from theirs. Like,
see, that's the
and then they just like refuse to talk to them or like avoid them like afterwards, even though the first person is like, I didn't say anything wrong. Like I was just, I was agreeing on certain points, but they were trying to shove words in their mouth. And it's like, people are so spiteful and hateful anymore. It's not even funny. Like, and I think that's kind of why, like, I don't personally go after, shows I don't like anymore. I say, yeah, I don't really care for it. And then I just kind of move on because honestly, I'm not going to give the time of day to it. And I'm not going to crap on somebody else's franchise. Like everybody likes what they like. I like Beast Wars. I had an argument with some guy on Facebook last week, about that. And, I don't remember. Did I read that on the podcast or did I just read that to you solo?
I don't remember, but I know what that was because I think you read that to me solo. I don't remember if it was.
I think I read it
HCF
to you
or
solo
not.
too because I had fun screwing with the guy afterward because
Yeah. Well, this is after we were off the air.
yeah. So I mean, like for instance, like I'm gonna bring this up because it kind of ties into this too. Like when someone feels that their opinion is more important than someone else's, it's a dangerous thought process. Not only is it destructive, but it's also like hurtful to the other person. I say that because I feel like as fans, we can kind of understand that a little bit more because people are constantly attacking things we enjoy. And we're all guilty of attacking somebody else's thing that they enjoy. It just happens. But I feel like it's on a grander scale, like a grander audience now, which is rather unfortunate because it's splitting families, it's splitting friends. Like there's no like option to agree to disagree or to just drop it and just be done with it. It's always somebody has to win, and somebody's like, well, your opinion sucks because you're wrong. Or you don't live in modern reality, and I'll get to that too. So what had happened is there's a Transformers Facebook group called Transformers Till All Are One, where fans and talent come together. Okay, we know some of the people that run it, because they've been in the franchise for a long time. So anyway, somebody posted the new Titan figure Kingdom character poster. And so it's got like Primal, it's got Megatron, it's got Galvatron, it's got Airazor, Prime, Ultra Magnus, Cheetor, Rhinox, people that probably may or may not be in the season. So some people are talking about, what certain things look like, some of the characters that showed up that won't be a part of it. Somebody else puts Transformers Circus opening its gates near you. So, where's it at? I'm trying to find the exact quote. So what had happened is, somebody says, G1 and Beast Wars shouldn't be mixed. It just ruins G1 immediately. And this guy was I'm just going to name him because he's a total douchebag on the post. Bob Contagion. He's which is a weird name to begin with. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so the next person down the line goes, and he's associated with something like I don't know, he does visual storytelling stuff. He says, I'm a massive G1 fan, but you have to admit the line needed something new. Just redoing G1 characters was getting boring. I'm looking forward to Beast Wars joining the mix again and having fun mixes on the shelves. And so this guy puts sad face like on it. Because he's just upset about it. I says, I'm looking forward to the fact that this is basically season 4 of Beast Wars in the sense that they plan to have G1 and Beast Wars cast crossover and fight together. So it's almost getting that aspect. And then FJ DeSanto goes, well, and so we're laughing about it. And then that Bob Contagion goes, it's gonna literally become crap, about to. And this other person puts alternate universe, and he says, no, it's BS that it's like this. I like my G1, but Hasbro has to go and crap on it and gonna contaminate it with animal guano. You're a BE fan, which it's not BE fan, it's BW. I don't know where he got that.
Could be Beast era.
Well, even then, it's BWTF.
Hairs,
you know. Anyways, get your acronyms right. You're a BE fan. That's fine. No worries. Enjoy your line, but keep it away from my so far pure G1 line and show. G1 is G1. Beast Wars is Beast Wars. No matter how much Beast Wars fans say it's part of G1, no, it's flipping not. Keep it for yourselves. And
my God, dude, like.
So Ben Yee jumps in. Which everybody knows Ben Yee. Like, he's been in the Transformers franchise forever. He was a consultant on Beast Wars. He says G1 characters literally appeared in Beast Wars and were a critical part of the continuity since almost the beginning of the series. The two are tied in the same ways that Star Trek and Star Trek Deep Space Nine are. Two very different shows that exist in a shared universe. That was always the intention when the writers worked on the series. If you do not enjoy the aesthetics of the Beast era toys, then don't buy them. There are plenty of G1 80s era base toys in the line for you to enjoy. The existence of, say, a new Optimus Primal toy should have no bearing on how much you enjoy the new Trax toy. I think Kingdom is wonderful in that sense. It offers a diverse selection of toys and products for fans to enjoy, and offers a different visual dynamic in the line than what we have had for the past few years. And then this guy, not letting it go down, goes, no, dude, G1 fans would have deserved a line show that's finally pure G1, not clipped together crap like everything else before War for Cybertron. Before your end, or from your end, Beast Wars, it may look like considered Beast Wars as part of the G1 continuum, but most G1 fans don't approve Beast Wars as part of G1 continuity, and that you guys should understand, which is funny because G1 fans accept it as part of the franchise. This guy's just having denial issues. And then he goes on to say, we don't hate you or what you love. Beast Wars isn't that bad, but it's not G1, and we don't want the two to be mixed. That's all. You should get your own sequel, whatever you guys want, but that shouldn't be part of ours. I think that's a fair demand. And I just kept putting laughing stuff on every time he posted something. And Ben Yee goes, dude, I worked on the show. I was in near daily contact with the writers. I know Beast Wars was meant to be part of G1 and was always meant to be the history of the show. You can deny that reality all you want. It does not make it less true.
They are their flipping descendants.
I know.
It was said
It's no different than Star Trek in that sense, and that's what Ben Yee was trying to get across. And this guy's like, you just keep pushing the retconned reality, in quotes, from your viewpoint. But in retrospect, you can say, add whatever you want. The fact is G1 and Beast Wars built upon it. And not everyone considers that later edition desired part of G1 because it's a completely different thing, a different product from a different era. And then he tags me, because every time he wrote something, I put ha ha ha. He goes, not sure what you find funny, mate. Would you care to express yourself? And I was like, well then, and I just cracked my hands, and I'm like, let's do this. And Ben Yee liked what I wrote. So I put, I find it funny. You're literally arguing that you're a G1 purist and that, heaven forbid, it's mixed. Go watch G1 if that's your thing. Honestly, we've been getting various G1 era retcons over and again. Prime was one. Rid 2015 was one. Cyberverse, etc. Also, the fact that you're arguing with Benson Yee, a fan and someone who helped work on the show about the continuity, and the fact that you personally dislike the mixing of generations is laughable to me. He's been a definitive resource on the program. It has nothing to do with his quote-unquote reality. It simply is reality. Whatever you like, whether you like it or not. It's first and foremost a toy line. The story that comes along with it always is secondary to sell the toys. By mixing the two, it's adding another dynamic. I'm a Beast Wars fan, quote, Beast BW, not BE fan, and enjoy both, but G1, Headmasters, Beast Wars, and Beast Machines are one universe. Rid 2001 is different and mixed them. Unicron Trilogy mixed some too. Animated mixed some, but every series literally revolves around G1. To take offense to it being mixed instead of a love letter to the fans is humorous in of itself. Because, honestly, G1 would have died. Transformers as a franchise would have died without Beast Wars.
Without Beast Wars, yeah.
And then his previous comment is deleted somewhere. He puts...
Okay.
He oh, that's funny. He deleted it. That's all right. I screenshotted everything. He puts okay boomer, and I'm like,
Oh my God, you're not even old enough.
no, and he puts boomer, and I'm like, LOL, really? That's your response? Pretty lazy on your behalf. I wasn't even name calling you, but to each their own. At least I can appreciate the variety that that Transformers has had. By the way, not a boomer. And then I quoted, or I took the definition of it. I put, okay, boomer is a catchphrase and meme used by teenagers and young adults to dismiss or mock outdated attitudes, typically associated with people born in the 2 decades following World War II, known as baby boomers. I says, I'm betting I'm not much different in age than you. I'm early millennial for what it's worth. And then I tagged FJ DeSanto. I was like, don't worry, all but Bob here is looking forward to the storyline.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so Bob goes, I'm tired of arguing with so much subjectivity. That's the reason. There's no logic in what you're trying to sell, only biased preference. I won't waste energy on such arguments. And I says, the only person being biased and subjective is you, buddy. We're all okay.
Buddy. Yeah, we're all okay. I'm like, you're fighting him with logic.
I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, this guy is like just off his rocker. I was just having fun, just like very politely responding, like with facts. And the guy's just like off his rocker, like everywhere. And I'm just like, okay, like how far is this conversation going to go? I did report him to the admins of the group as like, I says, it's not a problem right now, but I says for the fact that the guy is like hardcore hating on Beast Wars and he's attacking everyone's viewpoint on it in the post, I says, you might want to watch him or warn him because I could see him being a problem. And so they're like, okay, we'll keep an eye on him. Thanks for, reporting him.
Yep.
And so I was like, I just contacted Candace. I was like, hey, I was like, just so you know, I says, I'm not trying to pick a fight. I says, I'm trying to let you know that the guy's just being a pain. So he stopped posting after that. And I was like, okay, we're good. So I left the conversation after that. I mean, I'm still in it, but I meant like I stopped posting. You
stopped posting.
But I just was like, come on, dude. Like he's literally like crapping on Beast Wars every time somebody said something, and then he's like, he couldn't stand that I wrote. I put ha ha face on everything he did. He did it to me, and I was like, okay, like it doesn't hurt me. It's still a stupid emoji. Like I don't know, like. I just take it for what it's worth. Like I don't really care. It's just people are so argumentative over stuff anymore. Like, and I'm not saying I didn't argue with him. I just did it using facts. He resorted to name calling because he couldn't think of what else to say to me.
See, what you did is not arguing to me. What you did is presented facts, and you were trying to get him to understand that everyone besides him is actually looking forward to this new time travel, whatever it's going to be in Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom. Here's the thing, okay? I only knew or found out about this group because I saw FJ post the trailer for Earthrise in it. I would have never known about this group if I had not seen his post that he had posted on his timeline. It's like, oh, FJ DeSantos, Arrow, Transformers, Till All Are One, where fans and creators come, whatever it is. If I didn't see that, I probably never would have found out about this group. This is the number one reason why I hate groups on Facebook. Because you run into people like this that want to ruin it for everyone, and I don't join groups.
Well, it almost reminds me of the TFW forums.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I dropped off the face of the earth on those a long time ago because they were so venomous.
Yep.
You were not allowed to have an opinion or a thought.
Yep, absolutely. And here's the thing. Like, I'm in the groups that I'm in because I know that it's like-minded people like me who can, have a conversation.
Civil conversation.
And not yell at each other and scream at the top of their lungs when they don't get their way of what they're trying to say, kind of thing. I almost left the group because of another post. And this was the first
I saw that one where somebody was running their mouth bashing.
This was the first post I saw after joining this Transformers group on Facebook. Some YouTuber named Protoman is showing off the SS-86 Hot Rod without giving the original poster credit.
It's a news article.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So first of all, some YouTuber named Proto Man.
He's been in the franchise, like, he runs TFCon. Like, he's one of the people.
Exactly. This is one of the guys that runs TFCon. Like, how do you not know? Like,
I met him in person at TFCon. Like, he's a super intelligent dude.
I met him in person at 2016 at BotCon, the very last BotCon they had before they went away for a while. They're coming back next year for BotCon. But the very last BotCon was in Louisville, Kentucky, at 4th Street Live and whatever other convention center. But basically, the Stan Bush concert that Friday night, April 8th, 2016, because Lady Wreck came out, and actually Joe Reed from Off the Cuff with Mike Powers and Art Danner from Michigan, and Proto Man was there too. I met obviously, Lady Wreck and I went together because she was coming in and whatever else kind of thing, and she was the first one I met. When we got there, we ran into Joe, we ran into Proto Man. I'm like, hey, it's Proto Man. I actually met Proto Man in person. That's friggin' cool. I know who he is. And this dude is like some YouTuber, blah, 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 isn't giving credit. Well, first of all, Proto Man actually released a video about this. He's not going to give credit to the person that originally took that, because that person is stealing product from the overseas companies in order to get, like, Hasbro didn't give him that to, like, Tauntaun, I believe is the reviewer's name. I don't know. Kind of thing. So why would he, like, Proto Man wanted to talk about the SS-86 Hot Rod because he's a huge Hot Rod Rodimus fanboy like I am. You know? And that's all he was doing. He never said where the images came. Like, he said they came from a YouTuber or something. I forget what he said. But, like, he just wanted to talk about the fact that this figure is coming. And then all of a sudden, this guy in this group is like, blah, 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 blah. So I wasn't sure if Proto Man, his personal Facebook account, was on. I didn't know if he was in the group or not. So I messaged this guy. I commented back and forth with this guy. I said, Proto Man is actually a buddy of mine, blah, blah, blah. And then I finally tagged his Proto Man Facebook page. And like 10 minutes later, under his own personal page, he messages me. He's like, oh, yeah, thanks for letting me know about that guy. And I'm like, no problem, dude. Just look it out for the rest of us. Because, man, people are just evil.
Yep.
Some are.
Yeah, well, that's all right. I was on, because I'm on the Allsparks Discord page. Among the other one that I do the writing story thing for. And they were bashing Optimotimus on there recently. Like, somebody in particular was, like, attacking him for
something.
It was something stupid. Like, they just... It's these new fans that come into the franchise and have no idea who the old guard are.
Yeah.
And so they kind of just are like, oh, this guy, he's ill-informed, he doesn't know this, and he's doing this, and I'm like, he's been in the franchise for a lot longer than you. And I says, plus he's reviewed everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but they're eating their own now at this point. Like, they're attacking each other for, who they don't like a review from. Like, it's so stupid, the stuff that we as fans fight over. Instead of collectively rejoicing in the fact that we have the franchise. Like, I don't like the new Star Trek shows. I personally do not like the new shows. I find them too dark or too stupid in one sense. Like, Discovery is too dark, and honestly, like, a lot of the characters are boring and they're trying to shoehorn stuff in. Picard, I feel like they ruined his character. They kind of neutered him. Like, he did a 180 from what he was in TNG, and I feel like it doesn't even fit his persona. And in the rest of the show, it's like they've shoehorned relationships in with certain characters that honestly have no business being there because they don't even relate. So, like, in that instance, like, I feel like some of those shows are really lazy writing. And Lower Decks, it's like Rick and Morty in space with Star Trek. And honestly, out of the three, that's the best one, which is not saying much. But on a whole, like I'm happy that they have new shows because it means we'll get the Captain Pike show. It means that the franchise keeps going. And yes, for a time, I will dislike the shows. But there will be new ones. And there'll be another generation at some point that I do like the shows. Or in retrospect, like I hated Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. When it was in the early 2000s. Could not stand watching them. And I've gone back to them 10, 15 years later, and I can sit and watch them, and I love them. So, I mean, it's a different level of perspective based on where you are in life, for one, but the other thing is like, yeah, you may not like it now, you may like it later. You may not like it at all, you may not like it ever. But the thing is they're always going to make more. So, eventually you wait long enough, like, I mean, Kingdom with Transformers, I'm getting Beast Wars. I'm getting a second wave of Beast Wars in a different fashion. And I'm ecstatic for it. The only thing I'll be kind of down in the dumps is if they don't match the voicing. Because I know that they aren't doing union actors. They're doing non-union actors. So that means that they cannot use the original cast. And so in that regard, I'll be a little upset if they don't sound the same. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, some dude, I don't even know who the dude is, but I know Paul talked about him recently. But apparently, Optibotimus is so popular, he has his own I Hate Optibotimus fan group on Facebook. And I'm like, people have nothing better to do than drag my friend down. Like, and it's a public group. And I'm like, looking at all this crap, and I'm like, really? Seriously? And sadly, Paul has reported the group to Facebook, but apparently it doesn't go against their guidelines.
See, that's just baloney.
It is just baloney because...
See, they pick and choose because, like, you can say whatever you want about certain people, and then other people you can't.
Oh yeah, so I'm in the official Blackstone Cherry fan group on Facebook, which we're all about, peace and love and everything else, just like the band is. So it's a rock band for people that don't know Blackstone Cherry. And I said something about, maybe you should listen to, and then a title of their song, which one of their title of their hit songs is White Trash Millionaire. This was during the time Facebook was reporting everybody on the stupidest things. I didn't call the person I replied to White Trash. It's the name of White Trash Millionaire is the name of a song. I wasn't calling the person White Trash, and I got banned from Facebook for 24 hours because I said white trash. Doesn't Facebook and the internet and my phone know I am white?
They don't care.
Like, oh, God.
Fake news.
Yeah, really.
I don't know. Social media is so broken.
Yeah.
It honestly is. Like, there's just, I don't know. Anyways.
So the other thing, before we get out of here, because I wanted to bring this up a little while ago. This is the last thing I'll bring up. I find this absolutely hilarious if I can find it now. It's all the way down here. So Facebook removes things and adds things and does whatever. So for the longest time on Facebook, they had a listing under your profile for professional skills. Like if you were a professional woodworker, or if you were a professional musician, or if you were a professional podcaster. I always said professional skills you added. Mine was sarcasm. I get this notice, and lately I've been getting it every day, and I just have to dismiss it. Professional skills are going away soon. Mike, we want to let you know that professional skills that you added to your profile will be removed from Facebook on November 5th. You'll be able to access and download this info at any time before it's no longer available. I'm like, why are you removing this? I don't even I don't understand. I just don't understand.
I don't know.
It's mind-boggling.
The internet's full of stupid. Da-da-da.
Bum.
Ba-da-ba-ba. Yeah, I don't know. It's some of the stuff now is just so mind-boggling stupid. Like, it's just hard to fathom. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll send this to you after the show, but I want you to link in the show notes the episode I did with Tom DJ last year. It was GCR, I think 94 or 94.5 or something, or I'll pull it up after the show. But he wrote this thing called the Modern Fandom Manifesto on his blog. And it's basically like simple rules of how to be civil with each other and still be fans kind of thing. So we kind of go through this on the podcast and we discuss each, several of these things that he's talking about in this blog post. And I'm like, all of this is common sense to me. Like, all of this is like, like, don't attack creators on social media. Ask them questions, be cordial, whatever. But don't sit there and say, oh, I hate what you did and I'm going to just go off on you or whatever thing. It's common sense has gone out the window.
Yep.
It's been gone, but it's gone. Anyway, I think we've run this train wreck into the ground. It's been a combination of all things Transformers and Headshot, and I don't even know what this episode is anymore.
Yeah, I'm not really sure either.
It's a good thing I potentially titled the draft Podcast Machines Bring Their War Stories, because there have been a lot of war stories tonight, Cup.
Yep. For sure.
For sure.
For sure. Bears. Mike Ditka or something. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Anyways, so until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.
We hope we didn't piss anybody off this time.